What if the real reason your erection weakens after 50 has nothing to do with age and everything to do with how your blood flow reacts to the smallest habits of your day? Many men think the penis stops responding because the body is simply getting older, but as a urologist I have seen something different. I have seen men who believed their sexual energy was gone suddenly experience a warm pulse of blood filling the penis again, sometimes within minutes, when the right natural stimulus is activated. And this raises a crucial point. The penis is not failing. It is waiting. Waiting for the correct signal that tells the vessels to open, that tells the circulation to accelerate, that tells the body it is safe to create a strong, steady erection without pills or chemical shortcuts. As you cross 50, your arteries become more sensitive to tension, inflammation, and daily pressure. This means the same routine that once did nothing to you now slows the microcirculation that carries blood into the erectile chambers. The result is familiar: slower arousal, inconsistent erection, a penis that no longer swells fully with blood. But here is the part most men never hear. The vascular system can be reactivated. Not in months. Not in weeks. Often in moments. Your body still remembers how to create rigidity, force, and control. It only needs the right reminder. And when this reminder comes through a natural method, something powerful happens inside the pelvic region. The flow intensifies. The erectile tissue expands. The penis becomes heavier, fuller, warmer, as if waking from a long sleep. This is the turning point for many men. You might even recognize some of these signals in your own body. Have you ever felt your erection trying to form but lacking enough pressure to stay firm? Have you noticed mornings when the penis feels more alive, more responsive, almost as if your system is giving you a clue? These small changes are not random. They show that your circulation is still capable of delivering strength. And what you will see in this video is how a simple 2-minute practice can intensify that response and change the way your body produces sexual energy. This is where everything starts, and your participation matters. If this resonates with you, share your experience in the comments, leave a like to strengthen this message, and make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next steps. What you are about to discover now may surprise you, and it opens the path for what comes next, connecting directly with the deeper transformation your body is ready to experience. When men reach this stage of curiosity, believing their body might still hold the ability to respond with strength, I often reveal something that surprises them. The greatest obstacle preventing the penis from swelling with blood is not the lack of desire, hormonal decline, or age itself. It is a silent pattern formed over years, a pattern that constricts the vessels around the pelvic region. So gradually that most men never notice what is happening. This pattern tightens the very channels that carry blood into the erectile tissue, reducing pressure, reducing expansion, and reducing the fullness that once felt natural. It is a blockage of function, not of masculinity. This hidden mistake begins with how the pelvic muscles contract unconsciously throughout the day. Long hours sitting, shallow breathing, persistent tension across the lower abdomen, and small daily postures create a chronic compression of the vessels responsible for erection. With time, this compression becomes the new default. The body forgets how to relax the pelvic floor fully. The arteries forget how to dilate on command. The penis receives only a fraction of the internal pressure needed to generate firmness, making it harder to achieve complete rigidity even when the mind is deeply aroused. What feels like weakness is actually restriction. Many men assume that if they still experience occasional erections, their circulation must be fine. But partial erections can be misleading. They show that blood is entering, but not enough blood is staying. The chambers inside the penis, the structures designed to hold pressure, depend entirely on adequate inflow and controlled tension. If the base of the pelvis is tight or poorly activated, the chambers cannot expand. The result is a penis that thickens slightly but cannot achieve the heavy, full feeling associated with true potency. It is not failure. It is incomplete activation. Another aspect of this mistake is emotional stress. As a physician, I have seen how chronic stress subtly shifts the body into a defensive state, narrowing vessels and disrupting the impulses that travel from the brain to the pelvic nerves. When the body stays in this mode, the erection mechanism becomes inconsistent. Some days it responds, others it shuts down completely. Men often blame age, but the real issue is the constant internal signal telling the vessels to stay tight. The encouraging part is that once these patterns are identified, they can be reversed. And when reversal begins, the body often responds faster than expected. The penis becomes more reactive, more sensitive to natural signals, more capable of filling with warm blood in moments. Each improvement, even small ones, indicates that the erectile pathway is reawakening. This is why the method you will learn shortly works so effectively. It interrupts the restrictive pattern, reopens the pelvic channels, and restores the natural flow that your erection has been waiting for. As these layers unfold, you start to feel the first internal shift, the sense that something inside is preparing for a stronger response, leading directly toward the technique that brings immediate change. As those internal shifts begin to surface, the body grows more receptive to stimulation, and this is exactly where the 2-minute technique becomes transformative. What makes this method so effective is not force, effort, or intensity, but precision. It works because it targets the exact point where circulation first hesitates before entering the penis. This point lies at the base of the pelvis, where vessels, nerves, and erectile tissue meet like the root of a system. When this area is awakened with the right stimulus, the blood flow accelerates in a way most men have not felt in years. The penis begins to swell almost on its own, as if the body suddenly remembers a path that had been partially closed. The technique itself relies on activating a specific muscular response that enhances intrapelvic pressure, pushing warm blood toward the erectile chambers. It is a controlled contraction combined with a deliberate release, timed in a rhythm that conditions the vessels to open instead of tighten. Many men unintentionally contract these muscles incorrectly, using tension that reduces circulation instead of encouraging it. But when the activation is gentle, slow, and precise, the pelvic floor responds instantly. Within seconds, heat spreads through the lower abdomen, and the first pulse of increased flow reaches the penis. This moment is subtle but unmistakable. Men describe it as a sudden heaviness, a fuller sensation, or a warm expansion that begins before any arousal even occurs. To perform this correctly, the body must be in a neutral position, allowing the hips to relax while the inner muscles take over the work. The contraction used is not a forceful squeeze, but a controlled lift, the same instinctive movement that the body would use to stop a stream of urine mid-flow. However, in this method, the contraction is only held briefly, then released completely. This release is where the magic happens. It signals the vessels to dilate, allowing a surge of blood to enter. Repeating this cycle for 2 minutes creates a rhythmic pumping effect that restores responsiveness to the erectile tissue. Most men assume improvement must take weeks, but the pelvic region adapts quickly when stimulated correctly. The erectile chambers, once underused, begin absorbing blood more efficiently. The veins that trap blood to maintain firmness regain their function. Even the glands becomes more sensitive as circulation reaches the finer branches of the vascular network. These immediate signs are powerful indicators that the erectile mechanism is reawakening. Consistency intensifies the effect, but even a single session is often enough for men to feel a difference. For some, the penis becomes heavier within the first minute. For others, the shift is subtler, a tingling sensation that grows into pressure. Either reaction shows the system has begun responding. And as the body continues adapting, this technique becomes the foundation for stronger, faster, and more reliable erections, creating a path toward the deeper transformations that follow in the next phase. As the body begins responding to the early pulses of circulation, the next step is learning to use this method with the consistency and precision that turn temporary improvement into a predictable, natural reaction. The truth is that the penis relies on routine just as much as the rest of the vascular system. When you stimulate the pelvic floor daily, even for short periods, you condition the vessels to remain open and responsive. The technique becomes less about effort and more about teaching the body how to behave again. But to make this transformation safe and effective, each detail matters. Start by placing the body in a position that allows the pelvis to remain free of external pressure. Sitting upright with both feet grounded works for many men, while others prefer lying down with knees slightly bent. What matters most is that the lower abdomen feels open, not compressed. Compression interferes with the natural movement of the vessels and reduces the effect of the contraction and release cycle. Once the position feels neutral, the focus shifts to the internal muscles. The contraction should be subtle, controlled, and precise. If the upper abdomen tenses or the glutes tighten, the movement becomes counterproductive. The goal is to isolate the deep pelvic floor, the foundation that controls how blood enters the penis. Hold the contraction briefly, long enough for the body to register the lift, then release fully. The release must be complete, allowing the pelvis to soften and expand. Many men unknowingly remain partially contracted throughout the day, which restricts blood flow. By practicing total release, you retrain the pelvic region to open naturally, making it easier for blood to surge into the erectile tissue. This release is also what prevents fatigue or discomfort, ensuring the technique stays safe for daily use. A gentle rhythm works best, with each cycle lasting a few seconds, repeated for the full 2 minutes. Breathing is another essential component. Deep, slow breaths amplify the effect by lowering internal tension and widening the vascular channels. Inhale as the pelvic floor lifts, letting the air expand the lower ribs, then exhale during the release. This pattern synchronizes the nervous system with the circulatory response, encouraging the vessels to dilate more easily. Over time, the body begins associating this breathing pattern with increased blood flow, making the response feel almost automatic. As days progress, the signals of improvement become more noticeable. The penis may feel fuller even outside of arousal. Spontaneous erections may begin returning, especially in the morning. Sensitivity improves as the smaller vessels around the glands receive more consistent circulation. These changes do not require strain or intensity, they simply require accuracy and repetition. The body adapts quietly, gradually strengthening the erectile mechanism from the inside out. And as this adaptation deepens, a new stability emerges, setting the stage for the next transformation, where the cumulative impact of daily stimulation begins reshaping how the penis responds to desire, pressure, and internal flow. As the daily practice becomes part of your system, something subtle begins to shift inside the pelvic region. The vessels that once hesitated start responding with increasing confidence, and this cumulative effect explains why rigidity improves not just once, but progressively. The erectile tissue is designed to adapt to repeated stimulation. When blood enters the chambers consistently, even in small amounts, the tissue becomes more elastic, more receptive, and more capable of holding pressure. It is similar to restoring movement in a joint that had been stiff for years. With every session, circulation gains a little more space, and the penis becomes slightly more reactive. This adaptation is not merely mechanical, it is neurological as well. The nerves that communicate arousal signals to the penis become more efficient when stimulated regularly. Many men over 50 lose erection strength not because of physical decline alone, but because the communication between brain and pelvis weakens with time and stress. By activating the pelvic floor each day, you strengthen this pathway. The body begins recognizing the pattern as a preparation for increased blood flow, responding more quickly each time. The penis starts to swell faster, hold blood longer, and reach firmness with fewer steps from stimulation to response. Another essential part of this cumulative effect is the reconditioning of the veins responsible for trapping blood. These veins act like gates, closing when the chambers expand and holding pressure inside. When circulation weakens over the years, these gates lose efficiency. Daily activation trains them again, allowing them to seal more effectively. This is why men often notice that the penis feels heavier after a few days of practice. The blood is staying where it needs to stay, giving the erection that weight and solidity that once felt natural. What surprises many men is how quickly sensitivity changes. When blood begins reaching the finest branches of the erectile network, the glands and surrounding tissues regain warmth and responsiveness. This heightened sensitivity does not just enhance pleasure, it also accelerates rigidity because the nervous system interprets the increased sensation as a signal to continue sending blood. It becomes a reinforcing cycle, where the body encourages its own success. Consistency is what transforms these early signs into lasting changes. The more frequently the pelvic floor is activated with precision, the stronger the internal pressure becomes. Even days when the response feels mild contribute to the overall improvement, because the system is still learning, still adapting, still rebuilding the erection mechanism. Over weeks, the penis responds almost reflexively. The warm surge appears faster, the swelling becomes fuller, and the path to rigidity shortens noticeably. As this deeper transformation takes place, men often describe a renewed sense of control, as if their body is reclaiming a function they thought was gone. And this renewed control becomes the foundation for the next layer of improvement, where daily circulation is supported by small but powerful lifestyle adjustments that amplify everything the technique has already begun to restore. As the internal system adapts to consistent stimulation, another layer of progress begins to unfold, one that is shaped by everyday habits more than most men realize. The circulation supporting an erection does not work in isolation, it depends on the subtle routine of the entire body. When these habits shift even slightly, the pelvic region becomes more receptive, and the penis responds with greater speed and firmness. What strengthens this process is not drastic change, but small adjustments that accumulate in the same way the technique itself does, reinforcing the pathways that carry blood to the erectile chambers. One of the most influential habits is hydration. Many men underestimate how deeply dehydration affects microcirculation. When the blood becomes thicker and more resistant to flow, the vessels around the pelvis struggle to open fully. A simple increase in water intake can thin the blood just enough to ease its passage into the penis. Over days, this subtle improvement becomes noticeable as the erectile tissue absorbs blood with less resistance, making the swelling feel more natural and more complete. Another important factor is deep breathing throughout the day. Shallow breaths, especially common during stress or long periods of sitting, keep the lower abdomen tense. This tension compresses the vessels that feed the penis, limiting their ability to dilate. But when the diaphragm is trained to move fully, sending air deep into the lower ribs, the pelvic floor naturally relaxes. This relaxation allows the vessels to expand more easily, enhancing the results of the 2-minute technique and making spontaneous responses more frequent. Movement also plays a powerful role. The pelvic region is highly sensitive to immobility, and long periods of sitting reduce circulation dramatically. Even brief walks or gentle stretches release the internal pressure that builds around the pelvis, restoring elasticity to the vessels. Men often report that after integrating short intervals of movement into their routine, the warm sensation associated with early arousal returns more quickly, as if the body is rediscovering a rhythm it had paused. Equally important is reducing habits that constrict blood flow without being obvious. Tight waistbands, prolonged leaning forward, or sleeping positions that press on the lower abdomen can subtly interfere with circulation. When these pressures are removed, the vessels regain freedom, and the penis receives blood more efficiently. Small changes in posture during the day can translate into significant differences in how strongly the erection forms at night or during intimacy. Finally, stress management becomes essential. The nervous system controls vascular dilation, and chronic stress keeps the body in a state where the vessels remain partially tightened. Gentle practices like slow breathing, light stretching, or short pauses throughout the day calm this response, allowing the pelvic vessels to open more easily. As stress decreases, the communication between brain and penis strengthens, making the erectile response faster and more reliable. These small but powerful habits act as amplifiers. They elevate the benefits of the technique, they expand the body's natural capacity for firmness, and they create the ideal internal environment for the next stage, where all these elements come together to form a stable foundation for lasting sexual vitality. As the body adjusts to these new patterns, a deeper transformation begins to emerge, one that goes beyond isolated improvements in circulation. What you start to notice is a sense of stability. Within the pelvic region, a feeling that the erection mechanism is no longer struggling to initiate but responding with a confidence that feels almost instinctive. This stability forms because the vessels, nerves, and erectile chambers are finally working in coordination again. The daily activation, the small shifts in habits, and the renewed flow of blood all contribute to a system that once felt unpredictable but now behaves with growing consistency. The penis becomes more receptive too. Stimulation, the swelling arrives more quickly and the rigidity holds longer, as if the body is rediscovering a natural strength it had set aside. What reinforces this process is the internal memory the body develops over time. Each session of activation teaches the pelvic floor how to respond, each moment of improved flow teaches the vessels how to open, and each successful erection reinforces the neurological pathways that allow sexual energy to move freely. This is why men often describe a renewed sense of ownership over their body, as though control is shifting back into their hands. These sensations are not illusions, they are signs that the erectile mechanism is reorganizing itself around a healthier circulation model, one that does not depend on external substances or forced stimulation. As these shifts become more stable, the penis begins to display a type of responsiveness that feels youthful but grounded. The warmth arrives quickly, the pressure builds naturally, and the rigidity feels fuller, heavier, and more secure. The deeper chambers begin to hold blood more effectively, reducing the chance of partial erections or abrupt loss of firmness. Even during periods of stress or fatigue, the system recovers more easily because the foundation supporting the erection has grown stronger. This is the moment many men realize that the transformation they sought is not temporary but part of a long-term restoration of their masculine vitality. The key now is continuity. Not rigidity, not perfection, but continuity. The same gentle rhythm that reactivated the circulation can maintain it, ensuring that the erectile tissue remains nourished and responsive. And as this continuity settles into your daily life, it connects naturally with a broader sense of confidence, intimacy, and physical freedom. You are not forcing the body to perform, you are guiding it back to a state it was always capable of achieving. And if you have followed this journey until now, it means these insights and transformations resonate deeply with your experience. If you feel that this content helped you understand your body with more clarity, consider subscribing to stay close to the next steps. Leave a comment with the phrase "I am with you" until the end so I know you reached this point, and share your thoughts about what changed for you along the way. And if this video added value to your routine, a like helps strengthen the space we are building together. There is another video waiting for you that expands on everything we explored here, so continue this path and let your progress unfold naturally as you move forward.